Thank you for that great introduction. I'd like to say thank you to Gary as well for his presentation just now. It's a hard act to follow, but we're going to try. We're here to tell you today about how we're changing the way we communicate data for our program to help understand what's going on with the Great Barrier Reef and protect the Great Barrier Reef. It's something like we like to call a story of great achievement. So the Great Barrier Reef, I probably don't need to tell most of you, but it's a place of outstanding universal values. It's the world's largest coral reef, over 2,300 kilometres long, up to 250 kilometres wide, with 3,000 reefs and around 900 islands. It also adds about $6 billion to our Australian economy annually, but anyone who's been out there knows just one look at it, it's worth saving just as it is. When most people think about the Great Barrier Reef in Queensland, they think about places like this. And it's true, we have a lot of beautiful places like this. But unfortunately, we often have places like this too. We have rivers that act as transport corridors for sediments, nutrients and chemicals coming off the land, being transported down our waterways and out to the Great Barrier Reef. And that can be harmful for our reef. It's not often its natural situation to be exposed to this many different contaminants. The Great Barrier Reef faces multiple threats. The role of our group and others within the Department of Environment and Science, and indeed within the Queensland Government, is to work to understand and reduce the impacts of direct use, coastal development, and poor water quality impacts from land-based runoff. In this way, we're hoping to increase the resilience of the Great Barrier Reef so that it can withstand the big one at the top there, climate change. We do this under the umbrella of the Reef 2050 Long-Term Sustainability Plan, which has this grand vision to ensure the Great Barrier Reef continues to improve on its outstanding universal values. That's fantastic, but it's also very lofty. So thank goodness we also have underneath the Reef Plan, the Water Quality Improvement Plan. It's probably hard to see from where you are, but that section in light blue there sets out actual water quality targets for improvement of our water quality so that the reef has the best chance of improving and becoming more resilient as time goes by. Those targets are around sediment, nutrients and pesticides. That's where our program comes in. We sit within the Paddock to Reef program, in the middle there, literally the two in the Paddock to Reef, and we monitor long-term trends in contaminants coming from our waterways and out to the reef. We retrieve data from the Paddock monitoring group, we add to that data, we provide our own data and feed it back into the other two programs as well, so we're all connected. We do this by running a monitoring program across the entire state. Logistically, it's incredibly difficult, but it can be as simple as dipping a bottle in the river and taking a water sample. We also have these amazing stations set up around the state, and these can be in hard-to-reach places, very remote, or they can be often affected by flooding, so not very safe for us to get to. And we have these, what we call auto-samplers inside. And during periods of overland flow and rainfall where the water level goes up in the waterway, these samplers start to take water samples for us and refrigerate them in those little units there until we can go and collect them. This is one of those stations up on the Russell River in the wet tropics. I'm still yet to go up there and help take samples, even though I've asked 100 times. And coming from that station out to the river is our sensor equipment. Now, in that pipe at the end there, we have what's called an exosonde. We also have sensors measuring how much water is going past and how quickly, and we have a lot of data coming in from that system continuously. For this particular site, when our crew installed this system, they had a crocodile fence around because there was a very big lizard in the area. That's one of the exosondes. Excuse me. So with these instruments, we can measure conductivity, pH, turbidity, dissolved oxygen, a lot of different parameters that matter to us as water quality scientists. And our data supports a wide variety of programs. So over time, where our program's been going for more than 10 years, we try to provide these trends out to the regions, to the people who need it. But it's often been like this. So where we're communicating water quality data across for different types of data across the whole of Queensland at any one time for each type of data. And you can imagine if you're from one of those regions, you just want all of the different types of data for your region only. So geographically, this is kind of difficult to process. This is an example of some of our real-time data. This is the Tully River up north. And what you're looking at here is nitrate loads coming from the rainforest. That's the dark green section at the bottom, those bars. And that's above an area of intensive agriculture. And the kind of orangey bars are nitrate loads coming from below a section of intensive agriculture. So what we're doing here is we're looking at the impacts of anthropogenic land use management, and we're getting data out to the people on the land in real time, all day, every day. Basically what they can use this for then is to say, well, I applied fertiliser on that particular day and there was a rainfall event and I lost a lot of it. I don't want that to happen again. So how can I change my practices to improve that and keep what I put on the land where it's supposed to be and where it's supposed to be doing its job? Some of the other things we do is we conduct risk assessments into different types of contaminants and water quality parameters, and this helps guide policy and investment and action out on the land to help give people the money they need and the tools that they need to make meaningful change out there. But this is probably where we get the best bang for our buck. We go out there, we travel the whole of Queensland, we go and meet with the people on the land, the farmers, the growers, the growing bodies, the researchers. We go and talk to them. We find out what's happening out there, how they can use our data and what they need to make meaningful change and to have their decisions boosted by real data. And that can be around improving the way they apply chemicals the chemicals and fertilisers, so direct applications or targeted applications. Our data also feeds into models. So these models actually track progress to change, and this data is published in the Reef Report card, which you probably saw in the news recently. I won't go into this too much, but our data actually is consumed by other programs within the different groups use it. It goes into models. It's got to be quality and it's got to be available. Our data also goes into the scientific consensus statement, which is produced every 5 years, and that's the Reef Report card. So what we're about is we're actually at that epicentre of improving the way we use the land so that the reef has the best chance of surviving. So how do we actually make our data available? I'd like to touch on something that Gary actually said, that it's the things that we measure, the things that get done, but I'd like to add that it's actually the data that's communicated well is the data that's acted upon. And now I'd like to pass to the person that makes that happen for us, Mariah.
Thank you, Kath. So I'm Mariah. I'm the spatial scientist in the Water Quality and Investigations team. I will be talking about how we are using geospatial tools to tell a story about the water quality in the Great Barrier Reef catchments. And I'll be talking about how we are using storytelling and GIS to communicate our science to the public and to stakeholders. So as Catherine mentioned, we are responsible for the delivery of the Great Barrier Reef Catchment Loads Monitoring Program. And we measure annual loads of sediment, nutrients, and pesticides that flow from the rivers and catchments on the east coast of Queensland into the Great Barrier Reef Lagoon. So up until this year, we used to publish our results in PDF reports, so quite thick scientific reports with lots of scientific text, charts, graphs, maps, appendices, and tables. So this PDF report would have lots of maps. For example, these are 2 examples of maps in this report. A map with all our monitoring stations and monitoring catchments. We've got climate maps, such as this rainfall map. But all our results are in this PDF report, and they're published like these big tables, like this one. So all our loads results are on the right-hand side, and river and site names and catchments names on the left-hand side. So this is how we used to publish our results in these tables. So this specific report is the last one we did in PDF format. So this was for the 2015-2016 monitoring year. It was published in March 2018. And it's been downloaded 356 times since then, which is not bad. But one of the problems with our PDF reports is that they're a bit hidden. So they're all published on the Reef Plan website. And unfortunately, you need to know that they exist before you're able to find them. It takes a bit of searching. So that's where they're published. So unfortunately, unless you know that they exist, you're unlikely to find them. The general public is not very likely to search the Great Barrier Reef on Google and stumble on our results. So this year, we decided to do something different. We wanted to innovate our data delivery and improve our communication of science. So our team is very new to Esri, but this year we decided to build a story map and a dashboard, or multiple ones. So instead of a PDF report, we published our results in a story map, which is a web application, and I'll open it in a separate tab. So it starts with a front page, just a short introduction to our program and some links to other programs that we are part of. Just some acknowledgements and logos to start with. We have a tab here with a quick introduction on how to use this app, because when we first built it, it wasn't that intuitive to people who had never seen a story map before. We have a background tab with some background about the program, and we also have all our objectives here. And then we've got a short introduction on the parameters we monitor: sediment, nutrients, and pesticides. And we've got a link here to our downloads tab, because we've got a scientific methods document that people can download as well if they want to learn more about these parameters and if they want to learn more about our methods. And then we've got interactive maps in this story map, such as this one. This one has all our monitoring sites in Queensland. And for example, for this year, we have 22 end-of-catchment sites and 18 nested sub-catchment sites. So it's an interactive map. You can zoom in and out and click on the points, get some basic data about our monitoring points and monitoring catchments. So straight away, we've had lots of success with this story map already. It got published about 2.5 months ago, and we've already received lots of feedback, positive comments, and even the minister has seen it, and she had positive feedback, which was great, because we didn't get this kind of feedback with our PDF reports. So this one was launched at the end of August. And I checked yesterday, we've already had over 750 views. So we're already achieving a greater exposure and a greater accessibility to our data. And these peaks that you see here, they seem to coincide with events that we did, such as this one, the River Symposium. And yesterday we did a talk for the chief scientist of Esri. And some of the other peaks are related to meetings we had with regional stakeholders and partners in which we showed our story map. Okay, so I would say the three main strengths that this story map has is that we have created a personalized user experience. We are combining multiple sources of information, and we're providing free and open data. And regarding this last point, we created another app, Operations Dashboard, as a visual tool in which we show all our data in a visual way. And I'll come back to this dashboard later. I'll first go back to our first point, creating a personalized user experience. So as you can see, it's a very interactive tool. We have all our loads results here in separate maps. If I go to our total suspended solids results, I can add the results to the map. I can click on the map to get results for the different catchments. And what's different with the PDF reports is you no longer need to know the site number or the gauging station number and then look it up in a big table. You can just go straight to the area you're interested in. So for example, if I type in Bowen, if that's the area I'm interested in, I'll go straight to Bowen and find out that there's a monitoring station right there, and that's the name of the station, that's the gauging station number. These are the parameters that are being monitored there. And if I click on the catchments that we monitor and that flows into that station, I'll have the results here for total suspended solids. So this way of presenting really allows the people to drill down to the information they want much quicker, and they can filter out all the information they don't want to see. And it's really personalizing the user experience. And if they're not interested in any of these loads, and if they're, for example, only interested in pesticides, they can do the same thing and just go to their area of interest and drill down to the information this way. Okay. So the PDF report had all these maps as well, except they were static and you couldn't really zoom into them and explore them like you can with this story map. Then our second strength would be that we're combining multiple sources of information, and all these land uses, they generate runoff that flows into our rivers and that influences the water quality we monitor. So that's why it's important to include them in our story map. And then the final strength of this story map would be our downloads tab. We are providing links here to the land use map and to the rainfall data for download. We have our scientific methods here. We have a PDF version of the story map for people who still like to print it out and read a hard copy. But all our data here is available freely for download in an Excel spreadsheet. So instead of copying a PDF table, like a table from a PDF report and pasting in Excel and losing your formatting and doing a special paste, you can just download the spreadsheet here and analyze and filter it yourself. So besides having this as an Excel sheet, we're also providing the same data that's in the Excel sheet in our dashboard. So this is our interactive data dashboard. All our data is behind here and is shown in the graphs on the side. We've got nitrogen graphs up here, phosphorus graphs, river discharge at the bottom, total suspended solids. And what you see in the maps, what you see in the graphs. So if you zoom in, everything will update accordingly, and it makes it quite easy to compare different sites. If you're, for example, if you're interested in that one, and that one, you can select 2 or more sites and just compare the data for those 2 sites. But we still have all the site names and gauging stations number in a list on the left. So if you do know the site name or the number, you can just click here and zoom straight to the monitoring site you're interested in. And we also have pop-ups behind our data. No, doesn't work right now. We have a help panel here, just a quick introduction on how to use the dashboard, and we still have links to the Excel sheet as well, and also to our story map. So what we've created is a public-facing product that we can share with the world. It complies with Queensland government's open data policy and really helps us share our knowledge. And we also use it internally as well. It's quite a helpful product that we can use during meetings, during presentations or meetings with stakeholders and regional partners, as it really helps us talk through our results. It went from being geared to scientists with heavy PDF scientific reports that were a bit hidden on a website to being geared towards the general public. Anyone can now find this story map in Google, go to our story map and our data dashboard, and download our data. And what's also important that this is a dynamic and fun tool to use. It's much more fun than reading a document, and it's dynamic, engaging, fun to use, and makes the process of learning quite fun and interesting. And we're reading a much wider audience than we did before, that we can educate about the importance of caring for our rivers and caring for the Great Barrier Reef. So what we want to do next in our team is to keep telling stories. We want to keep building story maps. We want to keep building dashboards so we can build our online data and show time series and trends. We want to start focusing on extreme weather events such as cyclones. We know that extreme weather events and extreme water quality data are related, so we want to focus on that. We are currently working with Esri on a pesticide exceedances dashboard. We're planning to show near real-time data to our land owners and stakeholders so they can make management decisions quicker. And then we're also looking at developing a citizen science water quality portal. So a lot of community groups and schools are already collecting their own water quality information. We like to bring it all together in a central spot so they can look at their data alongside ours. And finally, we are looking at expanding our sensor network in Queensland. We're installing new sensors, and we also developed statistical models with our partners. So with the sensors and those models, we like to combine real and modeled water quality data so we can increase our spatial coverage of the state. So that was what we're doing. Thank you very much for your attention. This is our water quality and investigations team. And here's a few links to our products. Thank you very much.